The internet is buzzing. The rumors are swirling and fans are holding their breath as a storm unfolds around one of the most talked about names in entertainment today. Tamar, sources unconfirmed but impossible to ignore, have sparked whispers that could change everything we thought we knew. Whispers of a health scare, of private secrets suddenly turning public, and of relationships hanging by a thread. And at the center of it all, tensions have reached a boiling point that no one saw coming. Social media exploded this morning when a series of posts hinted at a potential HIV-related revelation involving Tamar. Screenshots began circulating. Fans debated every word, and emotions ran high in comment sections across the internet. While no official statements have been made, the speculation alone has created ripples of shock, confusion, and concern. People aren't just talking, they're analyzing timelines, dissecting interviews, and piecing together fragments of information, trying to make sense of a story that refuses to stay quiet. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. Behind the scenes, sources suggest that Yandy, always a figure of strength and composure, may have reached her breaking point. Reports claim her reaction to the rumors was nothing short of explosive. Friends close to the situation say she's furious, blindsided, and demanding answers that have yet to be given. The drama escalates when you factor in Mendeecees, whose name has become linked to these swirling rumors in ways that have fans questioning loyalties, motives, and even possible legal trouble. Is this just gossip spiraling out of control, or is there something deeper, something more personal brewing behind the headlines? And then there's Funky, the commentator who never shies away from speaking his mind. Sources say he's weighing in with what some are calling shocking revelations, offering a perspective that could either clear the air or fuel the fire even further. With every clip, every post, and every reaction, the story grows, and so does the tension. Tonight, we're diving into the drama, the speculation, and the emotions running rampant. No punches will be pulled. No angle left unexplored. Fans are shocked. The family is left divided. And the internet is watching every move, every reaction, every word. What really happened? Who's telling the truth? And what does this mean for Tamar, Yandy, and Mendeecees? Stay tuned, because what unfolds next could change everything. The tension had been building for days, and now it felt like it was about to explode. Fans all over social media were buzzing, dissecting every post, every subtle hint, and every cryptic story, trying to figure out what really happened with Tamar. The rumor of an HIV revelation had sent shockwaves across the internet, but it was the added layer of Mendeecees' name being linked to potential legal trouble that had everyone holding their breath. People who thought they understood the dynamics suddenly found themselves questioning every interaction, every relationship, and every loyalty. The threads online were filled with speculation, accusations, and wild theories that no one could ignore. Every day brought a new clip, a new comment, a new interpretation that made it feel like the story was multiplying faster than anyone could keep up with. At the center of the storm was Tamar herself, who had remained largely silent. Her social media was quiet, her interviews carefully curated, and yet the whispers grew louder. Insiders suggested that she had been trying to manage the fallout privately, hoping to contain the drama before it spiraled out of control, but the public had already formed their own narrative. The problem, according to some sources, was that Tamar's previous statements had left gaps, and those gaps were being filled with speculation, assumptions, and fear. Every fan had their own theory, every video clip was dissected like evidence, and every pause in her responses was seen as confirmation of one rumor or another. Yandy, on the other hand, was said to have reached her limit. Friends close to her described her as furious and blindsided, emotions running high as she grappled with the idea that private matters were now being dragged into the public eye. The report suggested that her reaction was intense, not just because of the rumors themselves, but because of what they implied. Her connection to Mendeecees, her loyalty, and her reputation were all being questioned in a narrative she had no control over. Friends say she confronted several individuals privately, demanding explanations, but was met with vague answers, further fueling her frustration. Her silence on social media was interpreted differently by different factions. Some believed she was protecting herself, while others thought she was hiding guilt. Every move, every lack of a move, was analyzed as though it were a statement. Funky, known for his blunt commentary and unwillingness to hold back, added another layer to the chaos. He reportedly weighed in with observations and recollections from interactions that night, giving the public a version of events that felt personal, raw, and impossible to ignore. Sources claimed that he described situations with precise detail, naming locations, describing body language, and hinting at moments that had previously only been alluded to. His approach was not to speculate, it was to present what he claimed to have witnessed, and in doing so, he shifted the narrative from rumor to something more tangible. Fans were captivated, dissecting every syllable, every pause, every glance he made. Treating it like evidence, even though it was filtered through his perspective. According to those close to the situation, the night in question began innocently, with a casual outing that quickly spiraled into a web of tension and secrecy. Tamar had arranged plans that were meant to be low-key. But the arrival of unexpected guests, including Mendeecees, allegedly changed the tone of the evening. Sources claim that Funky felt uncomfortable, sensing a dynamic he didn't want to be part of, but found himself drawn into the unfolding drama nonetheless. The interactions, the subtle glances, and the moments that seemed inconsequential at the time were now being scrutinized under a microscope by thousands of fans online. The discussion escalated when Funky allegedly described seeing Tamar and Mendeecees in a compromising position, a moment that he said prompted him to step away. According to his recollection, he left the situation before it progressed further, but the memory of what he witnessed stayed with him. And the decision to speak publicly was not taken lightly. Insiders suggest that Funky struggled with whether to share his version of events, fearing backlash, but ultimately decided that the truth, or at least his perception of it, needed to be told. The narrative he presented painted Tamar as strategic, calculating, and fully aware of how her actions would be interpreted, while also highlighting her ability to manipulate the public perception of events. The story became even more complex. When Tamar's health was brought into the conversation, fans recalled her past statements about waking up injured, in pain, and unaware of the circumstances. And suddenly, these details were connected to the unfolding drama. Funky's recollections, combined with the gaps in Tamar's own accounts, fueled speculation about what really happened and who might have been responsible. The internet reacted with a mixture of outrage, sympathy, and curiosity, creating a feedback loop where each new post, comment, or clip amplified the tension. Hashtags and viral threads began to emerge, linking names, events, and locations in ways that suggested a narrative far more intricate than anyone had initially imagined. Amidst this chaos, the role of Mendeecees became a focal point. His alleged involvement in the events of that night was debated endlessly, with some fans portraying him as a central figure in a potential betrayal, while others argued he was being unfairly implicated. Reports circulated that his presence at certain locations, interactions with Tamar, and even his silence were all being interpreted as evidence of wrongdoing. The public, operating in a climate where perception often outweighed fact, treated his name as synonymous with controversy. Every appearance, every clip, every interaction was analyzed for signs of complicity, and the speculation around potential legal consequences only heightened the drama. Friends of Yandy reportedly tried to offer support, suggesting ways to address the rumors privately, but her frustration was palpable. The idea that her reputation, her marriage, and her emotional well-being were being dissected publicly added layers of complexity to an already tense situation. Insiders claimed she confronted individuals, demanded answers, and sought clarity. But the answers she received were vague, evasive, or non-committal. Her reaction, described by those close to her as explosive, became a key talking point, with fans debating whether her anger was justified, exaggerated, or a combination of both. In the midst of all this, social media became a battlefield. Fans split into factions, defending or criticizing each figure involved, posting theories and attempting to connect disparate events into a cohesive timeline. Clips were slowed down, screenshots were analyzed, and every gesture, word, and post was scrutinized. Commentators, vloggers, and influencers jumped into the conversation, amplifying the reach and intensity of the rumors. The story that began as whispers evolved into a full-blown narrative that seemed to have a life of its own, independent of any official statements or confirmations. What made this situation even more volatile was the combination of personal betrayal, public exposure, and the potential implications of health-related rumors. The intersection of private pain and public curiosity created a pressure cooker, where every action or inaction was magnified. Fans speculated endlessly about motivations, alliances, and consequences, while insiders suggested that those directly involved were attempting to navigate a maze of conflicting interests. Personal loyalties and the unavoidable scrutiny of the internet.funky single quotes as involvement added credibility to some claims and controversy to others. His perspective, described by insiders as unfiltered and highly detailed, forced the public to reconsider previous assumptions. Fans were captivated by his recollection, interpreting it as either a necessary exposure of the truth or an opportunistic attempt to generate drama. The balance between perception and reality became increasingly blurred, with every post and reaction feeding into a cycle of speculation, debate, and escalating tension. Throughout the unfolding events, Tamar's silence or strategic ambiguity served as a catalyst for the rumor mill. The lack of clarification created space for speculation to flourish, and the public's imagination filled in the blanks with scenarios that ranged from plausible to sensational. The uncertainty surrounding her health, her actions, and her intentions allowed the story to grow organically, with fans, influencers, and commentators each contributing to the collective narrative. And so, the drama continued to escalate. Each revelation, each clip, each whispered rumor contributed to a tapestry of tension, speculation, and emotional intensity. The story was no longer just about Tamar, Yandy, or Mendeecees. It had become a reflection of how the public interacts with celebrity, health rumors, and perceived betrayals. Every fan had a stake, every post mattered, and the unfolding events were treated as both entertainment and evidence. As the days passed, the tension only seemed to thicken. New posts appeared every hour, each one reigniting debates among fans and insiders alike. Social media became a whirlwind of opinions, with people dissecting every interaction between Tamar, Yandy, Mendeecees, and Funky. Some claimed they could see guilt in a glance, while others defended each party vehemently. The online world was divided, with hashtags trending and influencers weighing in, analyzing body language, facial expressions, and timing of posts as if they were forensic evidence. Every comment added fuel to the fire. Every share multiplied the narrative. And the story refused to fade. Inside this chaos, Yandy was said to be overwhelmed. Friends revealed that she spent hours going through messages, clarifying what she could, and attempting to maintain some semblance of control. One source recounted a late-night confrontation where she confronted a mutual acquaintance, voice trembling yet firm. Do you think this is a joke? Do you know what it feels like to have someone's entire life and health questioned without any proof? She reportedly demanded, eyes blazing. Those present said the room fell silent, tension so thick you could feel it in the air. Every word seemed to carry the weight of weeks of frustration, the emotional toll of being dragged into a storm that had nothing to do with her decisions. Tamar, meanwhile, was reportedly keeping her own counsel, first confiding in a few trusted friends. Sources suggested she oscillated between frustration and calculation, aware that each move could be amplified and misinterpreted. One insider hinted at a private conversation with Funky where she allegedly asked, "Do you really think they will? Believe everything you're saying, because once this spreads, there's no going back." Funky, according to reports, responded with a calm yet pointed remark. "I'm just telling what happened. You know I don't lie, but the public will. Take it however they want." This exchange, captured in snippets by those nearby, was immediately circulated in private chats and eventually leaked, adding yet another layer of speculation to an already volatile situation. The involvement of Mendeecees added another layer of complexity. While he remained relatively quiet publicly, insiders claimed he was not idle. Late-night calls, private meetings, and whispered discussions were said to have taken place, all aimed at navigating the emerging storm. Some sources reported that he expressed concern over being unfairly implicated, emphasizing that the narrative being built around him did not reflect his actions. "I didn't do anything to hurt anyone," he allegedly told a confidant. "Why is my name being dragged into all of this?" The frustration was evident, and those close to him feared that the constant public attention would begin to take a toll on his personal life. The public, however, seemed to ignore nuance. Every social media post from Tamar, Yandy, or Mendeecees was dissected. Fans speculated on tone, timing, and intention, with some claiming to detect hidden meanings in emojis, pauses, and even background noises in videos. The drama was no longer just about what had happened. It had evolved into a complex web of interpretation, where each reaction was proof of guilt or innocence, depending on who was watching. News outlets, entertainment blogs, and reality TV channels jumped on the story, each creating content that presented new angles, new perspectives, and new opportunities for fan engagement. Among all of this, Funky's role was increasingly scrutinized. Some praised him for speaking the truth, while others accused him of seeking attention or stirring unnecessary drama. Insiders suggested that his decision to share his account publicly was not without hesitation. He reportedly considered the consequences, weighing friendships, public perception, and potential backlash. Ultimately, his sense of integrity, or perhaps his desire to clarify events from his perspective, won out. "People need to know what really happened," he allegedly said in one private conversation. "Even if they hate me for it, they will at least know my side." The ripple effect on Tamar was palpable. Friends recounted moments of emotional strain, including late nights pacing and staring at screens, anxious about how the next post or clip would affect public perception. Each notification felt like a potential threat, a potential confirmation of rumor or falsehood. Insiders described her frustration at feeling misunderstood, noting that even attempts at clarification often led to further confusion. One friend said she's trying to hold herself together, but the narrative is spinning out of control. She's trapped between staying silent and speaking up, knowing that either choice could escalate the drama. Yandy, on the other hand, was reportedly determined not to let the rumors define her. In private messages and small gatherings with friends, she expressed her intention to maintain her dignity and composure, despite the public uproar. "They can say what they want," she allegedly told a confidant. "I know my truth, and that's enough for me." Sources said she made a point of focusing on family and close relationships, avoiding unnecessary engagement with online speculation, and prioritizing her emotional well-being over public opinion. The night of the alleged incident, according to sources, was filled with tension and subtle confrontations. Funky described moments where words were exchanged in hushed tones, glances were misinterpreted, and emotions ran high. Tamar's presence, described as poised yet calculating, reportedly kept everyone on edge. Mendeecees, observing quietly, allegedly tried to mediate but found himself drawn into conversations that escalated quickly. Sources claim that small disagreements were magnified by the charged atmosphere, leading to moments where the room felt like it was on the verge of exploding. Friends and insiders also revealed that the aftermath included attempts at reconciliation. Phone calls, text messages, and private meetings were reportedly arranged to address misunderstandings, clarify intentions, and manage public perception. However, these attempts were complicated by the fact that every interaction had the potential to be leaked, misinterpreted, or turned into content for social media. The balancing act between private resolution and public scrutiny became a constant challenge, forcing each individual to carefully weigh words, actions, and appearances. As the story unfolded, the stakes continued to rise. The intertwining of personal relationships, public image, and alleged health matters created a narrative that was both captivating and dangerous. Every comment on social media, every private conversation, and every leaked clip contributed to a cycle of speculation, reaction, and counterreaction. Insiders noted that even well-meaning attempts at clarity often backfired, creating additional points of tension and drama in private. Tamar reportedly expressed frustration not only at the rumors themselves, but at the public's fascination with personal matters. It's like nothing is sacred anymore, she allegedly said. Every word, every move is a headline. Sources claim that her awareness of this dynamic shaped her interactions as she tried to navigate both personal integrity and public perception. Funky's statements, while illuminating certain events, only intensified the pressure, adding fuel to a fire that seemed impossible to contain. Yandy's responses, meanwhile, remained measured yet passionate. Insiders suggested she sought to maintain boundaries while asserting her perspective. "I'm not going to let anyone twist my story," she reportedly stated during one heated discussion. Her emphasis on loyalty, truth, and accountability resonated with some fans, while others continued to scrutinize her every word. The complexity of relationships, history, and public perception made it impossible to create a narrative that satisfied everyone, leaving each action open to interpretation. The culmination of these events led to a situation where every participant, whether directly involved or indirectly mentioned, had to tread carefully. Insiders claimed that private communications became strategic. Social media posts were carefully timed, and interactions with friends, family, and the public were meticulously managed. The delicate balance between truth, perception, and drama dictated choices, forcing each individual to navigate a maze of potential pitfalls. Through it all, fans remained captivated. Discussion boards, comment sections, and social media feeds overflowed with analysis, speculation, and debate. Each development, whether a post, a story, or a leak, was treated as critical information, further fueling the cycle of attention and reaction. The narrative had grown beyond the individuals involved, becoming a spectacle that reflected broader cultural fascination with celebrity, scandal, and the interplay between private life and public perception. As the situation escalated, tensions among Tamar, Yandy, Mendeecees, and Funky reached a boiling point. Friends and insiders described nights filled with whispered arguments, long phone calls, and emotional outbursts that seemed to stretch endlessly. One insider recounted an evening when Yandy and Tamar were in the same room for what was supposed to be a calm discussion was anything but calm, the source said. Voices were raised, accusations flew, and every little gesture was scrutinized. "You could cut the tension with a knife," Tamar, maintaining a composed exterior allegedly, spoke firmly but with a hint of frustration. "I'm not here to argue endlessly. I just want clarity, not chaos." Yandy, visibly upset, reportedly snapped back. "Clarity doesn't come when people are twisting words and spreading rumors." Meanwhile, Mendeecees was said to be trying to keep the peace, but every effort seemed to backfire. Sources described moments where he attempted to mediate, yet found himself inadvertently escalating conflicts simply by acknowledging someone's concerns. He meant well, a friend shared, but anything he said was taken as siding with one person or another. It was exhausting for him. Funky, who had been vocal about his perspective, reportedly had several tense exchanges with both Tamar and Yandy. One source revealed a conversation in which Funky tried to explain his side, stating, "I'm not the enemy here. I'm just giving context. If people can't handle that, it's not my problem." According to those present, the statement only added fuel to the fire. With emotions running high and tempers flaring, social media continued to amplify every small incident. Screenshots of private messages, speculative videos, and fan commentary flooded platforms, making it nearly impossible for the parties involved to regain control over the narrative. Insiders noted that every attempt at clarification seemed to create new angles for gossip. Even seemingly mundane interactions were dissected, reinterpreted, and reposted with dramatic captions. Fans debated intentions, timelines, and authenticity, with some expressing support while others criticized every move, fueling a cycle of reaction and counterreaction that showed no signs of slowing down. Friends and family were reportedly caught in the crossfire. Some attempted to mediate, offering advice and support, while others were drawn into heated arguments they had not anticipated. One insider described a family gathering where emotions erupted, with whispered conversations turning into tense confrontations. People were defending, accusing, and trying to make sense of what they'd heard, the source said. It was like watching a storm unfold in real time, and no one could escape it. The emotional stakes were high, with relationships feeling fragile and trust hanging by a thread. Tamar's inner circle reportedly expressed concern about the impact of constant scrutiny. One friend mentioned that Tamar felt trapped, aware that every action could be misrepresented. She wants to move forward with her life and career, the source said, but she's constantly pulled back into the drama. It's mentally and emotionally exhausting. Funky's revelations, while intended to clarify events from his perspective, inadvertently increased the pressure. Insiders noted that Tamar had to balance addressing concerns without giving fodder for further speculation. A delicate dance that left little room for genuine rest or reflection. Yandy's single quotes as position remained firm, but emotionally charged. According to sources, she expressed frustration over being portrayed in ways that did not reflect her true intentions. One private conversation allegedly included Yandy stating, "I'm not going to sit back and let people write my story for me. They don't know the truth and they have no right to twist it." Those close to her noted that this determination was both admirable and a source of further tension, as it often clashed with Tamar's attempts at calm communication. The delicate interplay of personalities, past grievances, and public pressure created a constant state of suspense, with every interaction charged with potential conflict as rumors about Mendeecees' alleged arrests circulated. Insiders described a series of private discussions aimed at damage control. Some involved strategic planning about public statements, others focused on personal reassurance and emotional support. One source revealed that Mendeecees reportedly said, "I can't control what they say, but I can control how I respond. I won't let false rumors define me." These moments highlighted the human element behind the public spectacle, showing how individuals tried to maintain dignity amid a relentless media storm. Funny moments, according to insiders, also punctuated these tense days. One instance involved Tamar and Funky attempting to diffuse a misunderstanding with humor, only to have the exchange misinterpreted and circulated online. "They were laughing about something completely private," a friend said, "but someone turned it into a headline about tension. It was ridiculous." The juxtaposition of genuine emotion and public distortion added another layer to the unfolding drama, illustrating the difficulty of navigating personal interactions under constant scrutiny. The story reportedly took another twist when new messages surfaced. allegedly, showing miscommunications between Tamar and Yandy. These leaks, intentional or accidental, reignited debates and led to a flurry of online speculation. Insiders noted that Tamar and Yandy each had moments of regret and reflection. realizing that despite best intentions, the public's interpretation often diverged from reality. Conversations about accountability, transparency, and emotional honesty became central to their interactions. Yet the constant public gaze made it impossible to resolve issues privately without fear of further leaks. Throughout this period, fans remained captivated. Online forums buzzed with theories, speculation, and opinions. Influencers dissected body language, tone, and timing, creating an ecosystem where even minor details could become headline-worthy. Insiders reported that this relentless attention forced each individual to be hyper-aware of their words and actions. A pressure that affected decision-making, emotional responses, and personal interactions. The stakes were high, with reputations, relationships, personal well-being all on the line. Amid the chaos, moments of vulnerability emerged. Tamar was reportedly seen confiding in trusted friends about her fear of public misrepresentation and the toll it was taking on her mental health. "Sometimes it feels like no matter what I do, it will be twisted," she allegedly said. Yandy, too, had moments of emotional release, privately expressing frustration over being pulled into a narrative she did not initiate. Funky, despite his role in revealing information, reportedly experienced stress over how his statements were perceived and the unintended consequences they produced. As the narrative continued to unfold, insiders noted a growing awareness among all parties that resolution would require careful navigation. Strategic communication, emotional intelligence, and a degree of patience were necessary to prevent further escalation. Friends and family offered support, but the pressure of public scrutiny remained a constant challenge. The complexity of relationships, history, and public interest created a situation where even small actions could have far-reaching consequences, and every decision had to be weighed with precision. The cumulative effect of these days of tension, speculation, and public scrutiny reportedly left all parties emotionally drained. Insiders described long nights of reflection, careful planning, and emotional venting, with individuals seeking moments of clarity amid the chaos. Yet the narrative was far from over, as each development, post, and leak continued to drive engagement and speculation. The story had become larger than any single person, a complex web of perception, interpretation, and reaction that seemed to have a life of its own. As the days wore on, the emotional roller coaster surrounding Tamar, Yandy, Mendeecees, and Funky seemed unstoppable. What began as swirling rumors had now evolved into a complex web of personal grievances, public speculation, and raw emotion. Insiders reported that Tamar had taken deliberate steps to distance herself from unnecessary drama, focusing on her music and personal well-being. Yet, the shadow of past conflicts continued to linger, with every social media mention and online comment reigniting tension. She reportedly confided in a close friend, "I just want to create my art without feeling like every step I take will be judged or turned into a story I didn't write." The friend described Tamar's determination as fierce, but also tinged with frustration, knowing that public perception rarely aligned with reality. Yandy, meanwhile, was said to be grappling with her own internal storm. Sources revealed that she oscillated between outrage, concern, and protectiveness, trying to navigate a narrative that placed her in a reactive position rather than a proactive one. She felt cornered, an insider noted. Yandy isn't someone who likes being misrepresented, and seeing her intentions questioned publicly was infuriating. At the same time, she genuinely wanted to protect those she cares about, including Tamar and her own family. Private conversations between Yandy and Tamar were described as tense, sometimes conciliatory, but always fraught with underlying emotions that had yet to fully surface. Mendeecees, facing the rumor mill's most intense scrutiny, reportedly struggled to maintain composure. Insiders shared that the idea of an arrest, even as speculation, created a sense of anxiety and urgency. He allegedly spent hours discussing possible public statements with trusted advisors, carefully weighing every word. One source recounted him saying, "I don't want to give anyone the satisfaction of using my words against me. I need to be measured, even if it's exhausting." Friends noted that the constant attention weighed heavily on him, not only as a public figure, but as someone deeply invested in family and personal integrity. Funky's role in the unfolding drama became increasingly central. While initially intended to clarify events from his perspective, insiders reported that his statements had inadvertently intensified the situation. Sources claimed he was aware of the power his words carried and attempted to manage their impact, often reaching out privately to clarify misunderstandings. In one account, Funky reportedly told Tamar, "I never wanted to cause you stress. I just wanted people to understand my side, but it's clear this is bigger than any of us imagined." Tamar, according to insiders, appreciated the gesture but remained wary, knowing that public interpretation often eclipsed intention. Amid these tensions, smaller, more intimate conflicts reportedly emerged. Personal differences, past misunderstandings, and unspoken resentments came to the forefront. One source described a heated exchange where Tamar addressed lingering grievances with Yandy, stating, "We've been through so much, but I need honesty and respect, not speculation and chaos." Yandy, visibly frustrated but composed, allegedly responded, "I'm not here to fight. I just want clarity and truth, and I won't stay silent when things are being twisted." These interactions, private yet pivotal, showcased the raw human side of the unfolding drama. Fans, meanwhile, remained enthralled. Social media platforms were abuzz with analysis, commentary, and speculation. Screenshots of private conversations, alleged leaks, and fan theories circulated rapidly, each adding fuel to the narrative fire. Insiders noted that while the parties involved tried to maintain composure, the constant digital scrutiny created an almost inescapable pressure. One close source remarked, "It's like living under a magnifying glass. Everything is amplified, every emotion dissected, and every word judged." Unexpected twists continued to emerge. A sudden revelation about a miscommunication between Tamar and Funky reportedly led to a brief but intense confrontation. Sources described a moment where Tamar expressed frustration, saying, "Even when you mean well, it feels like it adds another layer of complication." Funky reportedly responded, calmly, "I never intended that. Let's fix this together." Insiders highlighted this exchange as a turning point, demonstrating the delicate balance of personal intention versus public perception. Family involvement reportedly added another layer of complexity. Relatives, well-meaning yet inadvertently caught in the crossfire, attempted to mediate and offer guidance. One insider described a family dinner where tensions flared over misinterpreted comments and perceived loyalties. People were defending, questioning, and just trying to make sense of everything at once, the source said. It was emotional, exhausting, but also revealing. You could see who truly cared and who was caught up in appearances. These moments underscored the high stakes, not just in the public eye, but within the personal dynamics of those involved, as the narrative neared what insiders described as a climax. There were glimpses of reconciliation and understanding. Private conversations reportedly focused on rebuilding trust, establishing clear boundaries, and prioritizing personal well-being. Tamar allegedly emphasized, "We can't control what people say, but we can control how we treat each other and protect what matters most to us." Yandy reportedly echoed similar sentiments, noting the importance of honesty and mutual respect. Mendeecees and Funky, according to sources, also engaged in heartfelt discussions about intentions, consequences, and the challenges of navigating life under public scrutiny. Throughout this turbulent period, emotional highs and lows were constant. Insiders recounted moments of laughter, tears, and quiet reflection amid the chaos. Tamar reportedly found solace in her music, channeling feelings into creative expression. while Yandy sought support from trusted friends and family to maintain perspective. Funky, despite his role in revealing information, worked to ensure that misunderstandings were minimized, balancing honesty with sensitivity. Mendeecees reportedly spent long hours contemplating strategy, not just for public communication, but for personal integrity and family stability. As the public watched and speculated, those involved took deliberate steps to regain control. Private meetings, carefully crafted statements, and moments of reflection helped to manage the narrative and protect personal relationships. Insiders described the atmosphere as cautiously hopeful, with a sense that while challenges remained, awareness and intentionality could guide resolution. People were learning, adapting, and trying to navigate a very difficult situation, a source said. It was messy, emotional, but also necessary for growth. The drama, while intense, reportedly led to moments of connection and understanding. Tamar and Yandy, through heartfelt discussions, began to rebuild trust, acknowledging mistakes, misinterpretations, and the pressures of public scrutiny. Mendeecees reportedly expressed relief at the opportunity to clarify his position, while Funky's roles shifted from instigator to mediator in some instances. Insiders emphasized that the lessons learned in these tense moments were significant, highlighting the challenges of public life, the importance of communication, and the resilience required to navigate both personal and professional relationships under a microscope as the narrative drew toward a temporary resolution. The emotional and relational landscape remained layered and complex. Insiders noted that while some tensions had eased, the experiences left lasting impressions. Tamar reportedly emerged with renewed focus on her music and personal growth. Yandy, with clarity and reinforced boundaries, Mendeecees with an understanding of public perception versus private reality, and Funky with insight into the consequences of public disclosures. The situation, though not fully concluded, illustrated the intricate interplay of personal, familial, and public pressures in the world of entertainment drama. In these concluding days of heightened attention, the parties reportedly focused on moving forward. Tamar continued to immerse herself in her projects, drawing inspiration from the turbulence to fuel creativity. Yandy, strengthened by reflection and dialogue, prioritized emotional well-being and constructive engagement. Mendeecees reportedly committed to measured communication and maintaining stability in the face of speculation. Funky, mindful of the impact of his words, reportedly sought balance between honesty and discretion, contributing to a more grounded approach to interactions. The story, insiders suggested, served as both cautionary tale and dramatic spectacle. It highlighted the fragility of public personas, the intensity of media scrutiny, and the complexity of personal dynamics under pressure. Fans remained engaged. Social media discussions continued and speculation persisted. Yet those directly involved worked to reclaim control and protect both personal and professional interests. While the situation was far from simple, the culmination of dialogue, reflection, and intentional action illustrated the capacity for resilience, understanding, and strategic navigation amid drama. As the whirlwind of rumors, confrontations, and heated emotions begins to settle, one thing is clear: the story of Tamar, Yandy, Mendeecees, and Funky is far from over. Fans have witnessed an intricate web of personal struggles, loyalty tests, and emotional revelations that continue to captivate and shock. The family was left divided at times. Loyalties were questioned and intentions were misinterpreted. Yet, through it all, moments of honesty and reconciliation have begun to emerge. Insiders suggest that while the public narrative may continue to swirl, those involved are slowly reclaiming their space, focusing on what truly matters: trust, respect, and personal growth. Tamar is reportedly channeling her experiences into her music, using her creative voice to navigate the turbulence. Yandy appears determined to maintain her boundaries while protecting those she cares about. And Mendeecees continues to balance personal integrity with public scrutiny, Funky's role, once a catalyst for tension, is now more measured. Reflecting the challenges of speaking out responsibly in a world eager for drama. The drama has been intense, emotions palpable, and the stakes high. But it also serves as a reminder of the complex reality behind the headlines. What seems like scandal on the surface often hides layers of personal experience, relationships, and nuanced intentions. This story has shown that even amid chaos, there is room for reflection, dialogue, and ultimately, growth. Fans remain glued to every update, every post, and every interaction, proving that human emotion and celebrity dynamics will always captivate our attention. So now we want to hear from you. What do you think about these rumors and the reactions? From Tamar, Yandy, Mendeecees, and Funky. Do you believe there's more to the story than what meets the eye? Comment below with your thoughts and theories. Smash that like button if you've been following the drama. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the latest updates on this unfolding saga. Your voice matters, and your opinions could spark the next big discussion in this incredible story. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and keep watching as we continue to follow every twist and turn in this high-stakes drama.